Hey, everybody! Today we're going to be talking about which cobra's venom is used to make medicine. This is one of our most popular questions that we get on this channel. If you're new here, I am a biologist and we talk about all things snakes. Snake discovery, snake conservation, and occasionally some herpetology history. So let's jump into today's video. Now, there are many different species of cobra in the genus Naja. And these cobras are found across the world in Africa, Asia, Australia, and even Europe. There are more than 300 species of cobra, and they can vary greatly in their size and appearance. Some are highly venomous, and others are mildly venomous or even non-venomous. And we also have to remember that just because a snake is a cobra does unnecessarily mean that it is deadly to humans. Only a few species within the genus Naja are actually responsible for human fatalities. Now, when it comes to the use of cobra venom in medicine, not all cobra species are created equal. In fact, only a handful of species are actually used in the production of Now, you might be surprised to hear this, but there's a lot of misconceptions out there about which cobras are used in medicine. Some people believe that only the venom of the king cobra is used, while others believe that only the venom of the Indian cobra is used. But this isn't quite right. The truth is that the venom of several different cobra species is used in the production of antivenom. So which species are these?
Well, in India.
The two primary species used are the Indian cobra and the monocled cobra. These two species are very similar in appearance, and they're often grouped together under the common name Indian cobra. However, they are distinct species, and they do have different venom components. That being said, both species have venom that contains neurotoxins and and these toxins can cause paralysis and tissue damage. So, it is important to note that both of these species are highly venomous and potentially lethal to humans. In addition to the Indian cobra, the venom of the Chinese cobra and the Malaysian or Philippine cobra is also used in the production of Now, like the Indian cobra, these species also contain neurotoxic and cytotoxic compounds in their venom. So, how exactly is the venom extracted from these cobras for use in antivenom production? Well, it's a pretty delicate process. First, the snake is milked, meaning that the venom is extracted from the fangs using a milking device. This is essentially a clear plastic tube that fits over the fangs, and then when you squeeze the trigger, it shoots the venom into a collection vial. Generally speaking, we try not to harm the snakes during this process. However, sometimes a snake will bite during milking, and if they do, they will be removed from the breeding colony. Once the venom is extracted, it's lyophilized or freeze-dried for storage. Now, in order to produce a single batch of antivenom, it takes approximately 2.5 kilograms of venom. This may sound like a lot, but when you consider that each cobra only yields about 300 milligrams of venom per year, it really does add up quickly. Now, once the lyophilized venom is received at the antivenom facility, it's dissolved in a sterile solution and then it's injected into a host animal, usually a horse or a sheep. This is done in a series of small doses over several weeks, and this is to stimulate the animal to produce antibodies against the venom components. So the animal is basically being immunized against the venom. After the immunization period is complete, the blood is collected from the host animal and it's processed to isolate the antibodies. These antibodies are then purified and concentrated to produce the final antivenom product. Now, this is a very complex process, and it takes several months from the time the venom is extracted until the final antivenom product is ready for distribution. Now, I know you're probably wondering why we use horses and sheep to produce Why don't we use other animals such as mice or rats? Well, it turns out that horses and sheep produce a much larger quantity of antibodies against the venom compared to rodents. Plus, horses and sheep are much larger than rodents, so they can receive larger doses of venom without any adverse effects. Now, antivenom is a life-saving medication, and it's used to treat venomous snake bites. It works by neutralizing the toxins in the venom. so they can no longer cause harm to the victim. Antivenom is typically administered through an injection, either intravenously or intramuscularly, depending on the severity of the symptoms. The dose of antivenom that is given will depend on the severity of the bite and the symptoms of the victim. Now, in addition to treating venomous snake bites, antivenom has also been used to treat other medical conditions. For example, some people with chronic pain have reported that they've been able to reduce their pain levels by taking small doses of This may sound strange, but it turns out that the toxins in the venom have a similar structure to certain neurotransmitters in the body. So when the antivenom binds to those toxins, it can also bind to the neurotransmitters and block them from sending signals to the brain. This can result in a reduction in pain perception. Now, it is important to note that the use of antivenom to treat chronic pain is still considered to be and it's not widely available. However, clinical trials are ongoing to evaluate its effectiveness and safety for this use. While antivenom is a life-saving medication, it's important to note that it's not always effective. In some cases, the venom can cause permanent damage to the victim even after the antivenom is administered. This is especially true for bites that cause neurological damage, such as paralysis or loss of vision. There's also a risk of anaphylaxis when receiving antivenom, and this is a severe allergic reaction that can be fatal. For this reason, antivenom should only be administered by trained medical professionals. Now, I hope that this cleared up some of the misconceptions about which cobras are used in the production of It's a complicated process, but it's definitely worth it when you consider that antivenom can save lives. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button below and subscribe to this channel. We would love to have you join our growing community of snake enthusiasts. If you want to learn more about snakes, be sure to check out our other videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.